Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today's video is we're going to preview the University of Alabama 2020 season. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and helping me break down the University of Alabama and their football season for 2020 will be two talented gentlemen. The first gentleman is the head football coach at Mount Zion High School in Clayton County. He also coached at Riverdale, Lovejoy, and Dutchtown, my man, Mr. Kevin the Bull Jones. And the second gentleman is Atlanta Falcons legend, Mr. Bobby Butler, by way of Florida State. First round draft choice in the 1981 draft, 25th selection overall. So if you like the video today about the University of Alabama and a preview to their 2020 season, please come in and share it. And so let's get with it. Roll Tide, University of Alabama, Mr. Kevin the Bull Jones. How the University of Alabama is going to look this year on the offense and defensive sides of the ball.
Well, I tell you what, fellas, welcome, a wonderful day to talk some football. Let me say this. At the end of the day, what measure of greatness, greatness isn't program. It's not what you do in 1 year. It's what you're doing in longevity of years. Okay, so this was the first time that I'm speaking French again, we in Tuscaloosa didn't have a chance to be in that championship game, but it's just, a situation where a great team arose and they took it on and we lost our quarterback, and that's the end of the story. However, as Vincent Turner would say, Roll Tide is back. Now, the prognosticators say that we have 7 starters returning on offense and only 5 on defense. But let me share this with you, that what I know about the Bama family is there's so many players that have an integral part from a coaching standpoint. For me, if you start more than 2 games, you're a starter. Okay, I mean, if you started 2 games in the SEC and you had to play the whole game, you're a starter. So my level of thinking about who's a starter is kind of different from what the regular media folks say, because that's why they're the media folks. But us coaches, Devontae Smith, the infamous person that caught the pass for the last national championship that Alabama had, he's not considered a returning starter, but to me, he is a returning starter. He's in fact the leading receiver as far as yardage is concerned for Alabama Crimson Tide. So to me, he is a starter. When Bama goes with their 4 wide receiver look, those guys, Waddell is in the game. They were and Devontae Smith, so they were in the game with Ruggs and Jared Judy. So at the end of the day, they are starters to me, especially when half of your snaps in the game, 35 to 40% of your snaps, you go with 3 receiver sets or even 4 receiver sets. So I consider those guys starters. Okay, so to me, there are 9 starters coming back. Mac Jones, the quarterback, should be considered a starter coming back. He had to play one of the toughest teams in the SEC besides LSU, and that was Auburn, a very tough team that we narrowly lost to because of an interception. So Mac Jones is the incumbent. He should be considered the starter. So as far as I'm concerned, guys, we have 9 starters coming back. And the greatest part about it, we have 4 starters coming back on the offensive line. Alex Leatherwood is returning starter, is considered to be a preseason All-American. And here's the thing about preseason All-American stuff. I mean, listen, it sounds nice. And for the viewers that want to hear that somebody is an All-American, it really goes back to the previous season and the body of work, which he, in fact, had a great season. But at the end of the day, us old coaches like to talk about what's happening coming forward. Okay, so moving forward, we have 4 starters coming back on that offensive line. The other starter, Jedrick Wills, that name sound familiar to you guys? He was first-round draft pick, okay, number 1. We're going to start those numbers with them hands in a minute, okay? so he's coming, he's gone. And we have some people that are going to try to fill that void. Evan Neal started as a true freshman last year for Crimson Tide, and he did a heck of a job. And so much that he's considered to be touted for some of those preseason selections based on his play. Landon Dickerson, Emil Ikayor, both of those guys played substantial amount of time, whether they're starters or part-time players. once again, for me, you're considered a starter. But in this case, we have a nucleus. Here's the things to success that help you for the next season. Do you have a returning starting quarterback? Well, to me, you do. Mac Jones is returning starting quarterback. He finished out the season as a starter, played in a bowl game as a starter, and he's coming back to toss that ball around and lead the offense. Najee Harris, one of the most prolific, versatile running backs in college football today. He's big. Once again, I think Coach Saban makes sure. Now, I can't prove this, but I need y'all to hear this. He's got some kids on his team that not only are they great players, but they have great personalities and they have all-American smiles. Some of these kids, believe it or not, can look like models. If they don't make it in the NFL, they can end up being models because they have that all-American appeal. They are not camera shy. They got great smiles. And when you get a chance to be around some kids without all the media and all of the fans around, and you're just in an environment watching them do their work, you get a chance to get a feel for their character and personality. And for coaches like me, it's not what you do in front of everybody. It's what you do when nobody's watching that help build what kind of person you are. But this kid is one of the top backs in the country. He came back for his senior year. So he's got that chip on his shoulder. Trey Sanders will be back, had a foot injury, who was another running back that we had that, he didn't finish out. He had a foot injury, so he couldn't finish out the season. He'll be back. And we also got a couple of kids coming in behind him that are pretty good as well. But at the end of the day, here's the thing about Bama football. Nobody else had a spring practice. So those freshmen that are coming in, their onus of learning the ins and outs of the Bama way at a very fast tempo is going to be intriguing. It's going to be intriguing for them because now you're going to find out between the ears what kind of kid you really have. And that's going to be the biggest thing for Bama football. So on the offense side of the ball, we got Mac Jones, we got Alex Leatherwood. But here's the thing. Out of the 15 offensive linemen on the roster, only 4 are seniors and 2 are juniors. So what does that mean, guys? That means that we got a lot of players coming back that are young. And you already know, Coach Saban, doesn't matter if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, redshirt, if you can play, if you will compete to the highest level, you will get an opportunity to get on the field. Okay? So if that happens, then that tells you. On the offensive side of the ball, Crimson Tide, number 2 in the nation in scoring, 47 points a game. As far as passing the ball, we're number 3 in the nation, 342 yards per game. So at the end of the day, the offensive machine, the offensive juggernaut will be there. It's not going anywhere. Yes, Tua's gone, but guess what? Mac Jones is in charge, and at the end of the day, we have Bryce Young coming in and watch the master with the master plan. Coach Saban won't be afraid to play a freshman if the situation deems necessary. And so you have that once again, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa situation where you have sensational freshmen coming in, but at the same time, you have an incumbent there. Now, at the end of the day, Coach Saban is not going to say, kid's just going to lose his job because of a poor performance. He's going to make those guys compete. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. Because, once again, this SEC, okay, this is the next level right up under the National Football League. Heck, I think last year Bama could have still beaten some teams in the NFL. Let me tell it, in my world, because, 17 national championships means 17. So now let's flip over to the defense side of the ball, okay? On the defensive side of the ball, here's where we're going to, we had some people, had a lot of injuries. Dylan Moses will be back. He would have been a top 10 draft pick had he not got injured before the season started. Dylan Moses, 6'3", 245 pounds, inside out. He can play inside backer. He can play outside backer. He can play the rush backer in the 3-4 look for them. Heck of a ball player. But he was the leader of the team on defense, and he didn't get a chance to lead his soldiers. So that put Shane Lee in charge of playing and being in charge and being the man in the middle as a true freshman. Okay, Shane Lee did an admirable job. Okay, and the greatest part about it, guys, he got playing time. He played the whole season. So now with Dylan Moses coming back, then you have Shane Lee, and now you have Christian Harris coming off the edge and sometime playing that Will Backer. Now you have, and listen, with the exception of Shane Lee, who's a little bit taller than me, but a heck of a ball player, and for you to be short and play inside that box for Nick Saban, that means you are an exceptional ball player. You are creme de la creme. You the cream rises to the top because everybody else is 6'3", 6'4" plus, and that's just the way it goes down in Tuscaloosa. You think it's an eclipse? It's not eclipse. It's not eclipse, guy. It's one of those linemen or one of them linebackers. They all look alike. I don't know what comes after sextuplets, but whatever that number is, it's just magnified out by 30 ball players on the defense side of the ball, and that's what you see. All those guys look great. Okay, they all can run. But here's the key part that we got to be concerned about. The secondary, Patrick Surtain, okay, only returning starter coming back. Okay, he's worked his weight in gold, but here's the thing. The rest of those guys that are coming in, and I believe there's going to be a freshman. I don't want to say the name right now because without the ability to watch them in spring practice, because wanting us guys, three of us, to go down there and watch practice and watch them go at it it's kind of tough. We didn't get a chance to see it, but nevertheless, we talking about roll tide roll. So at the end of the day, maybe Jacquez Robinson from Jacksonville, Florida, 6'2", 190-pound freshman, possibly incoming freshman, possibly competes for a starting spot. I don't want to take anything away from the guys that were reserve players last year because Job is a very good ball player. They've got some good players. Keep in mind, when Alabama has a backup, that backup is usually a 3 or 4 or 5 star. And that's just the way it goes in Tuscaloosa. That guy is probably a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. So you're getting still a good player. Okay. Defensive line. We had some LeBrian Thompson, excuse me. LeBrian Way was a kid that was hurt. LeBrian Ray missed 10 games. Well, guess what, guys? Justin Weegbe, Forest Park High School, had to come in and play as a true freshman. A true freshman. He had to play. DJ Dale was the nose guard. He got bumped around a little bit injury-wise, course of football. You know this, Bobby. You're not going to stay healthy the whole season. If you do stay healthy, you're not making any contact, which means you're probably not on the field. So at the end of the game, you're on the sideline somewhere if something on your body is not hurt. But at the end of the day, here's what you have. You have the front 3 linemen in that 3-4 defense. Okay, those guys, were interchangeable, but they had to play guys real early as true freshmen so that they could get a chance to play because of injuries. So with LeBrian Ray coming back, you still have this rookie, Tim Smith, who's coming in from Sebastian River High School in Florida. Once again, Bobby, talking about Florida. Okay, 6'4", 320 pounds. Folks, listen, he hasn't done it on the field yet, but at the end of the day, that's the fine line for me because I like to talk about when they've done it because when you realize, and Coach Vincent Elder mentioned it when he went to Alabama last week, when you get down there and you see players that are just as good as you, it will shock you. How do you adapt to being around great players that are just as big as you, just as strong as you, and just as fast as you? That is college football today. But down in Tuscaloosa, it's a little more special, and that's just the way it is. So I don't like to really say this kid is going to make it yet, but let's just say he's in the early running to be a heavy competitor. But watch this, guys, and I'm going to leave you with this. We talked about my top 5 kids that are coming in to Tuscaloosa out of the 2020 recruiting class. Well, Mr. Will Anderson, of course, Dutchtown High School. Okay, I got a feeling somewhere in this whole scenario, when he gets a chance to perform and come off that edge, there might be a possibility that he has early playing time for Crimson Tide. There's just something special about that kid. And it's one of those things, and Bobby, you know what I'm talking about, when they have the it factor, which means that their competitive level stays at a high place during the whole season. You know, it's amazing when you watch kids and you watch the highlights they make in the highlight tapes. A lot of times you can tell what they're not good at because what they didn't do well is not on their highlight tape. Aha. Guess what? You saw Will Anderson making plays every which way loose. Inside rush, outside rush. He's getting fighting off double team blocks, plays coming right at him. He's making plays off the backside, and his hustle plays are more exciting than some of the first hits he got. Okay, Demayu Kennedy, the kid I kept talking about. This kid is running so fast, inside linebacker. He's running the Wildcat as a running back at 6'3", 215 pounds. That is one of those kids that watch what happens with this class. There's some kids once again, because football has changed. So now those kids, when Coach Saban walks in and he says, if you earn the right to play as a freshman, you're going to be on the field. Guess what? You're going to be on the field. And that's the way it should be. And at Alabama, we don't have as many kids transferring out because everybody knows you're going to get some playing time if you have the ability to compete between the ears and when you put your hand and feet on that ground, you rocking and rolling. Last one I want to mention, Drew Sanders, #1 athlete in the nation. Multiple positions. We talked about him. Talked about him being one of the top players. He's going to be one of those kids where I think that you'll probably see another freshman on the field somewhere for Alabama. Now, so our Achilles right now might be just a maturity level, experience level, and playing in the games. And you only get it one way. But guess what's going to happen at the end? That A is going to swell up. It's going to swell up. And we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to come out the blocks with USC.
That's right.
We got Georgia in Tuscaloosa, right down the street. So Kirby's coming to his second home. Matter of fact, he's coming to the home where he got his rings. I'll leave it at that. So he got to come down to Tuscaloosa. So it's going to be a great challenge for the program early in the season. You know, these teams allowed to play football that we pray that they do this fall. It's going to be a great challenge for the Bama program to see exactly where we're going to be in the thick of things. I do believe that we'll be back in the national championship game. Okay. It's just going to be some different parts in there making those plays. Okay. Some of the players, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, a lot of those kids you never heard of until their senior year at Alabama on that defensive line. They ended up being first-round draft picks. Guess why? They were 5 stars that were reserve players first. And people were talking about them just like today about who's going to be the upcoming kids to lead Crimson Tide on defense. And nobody knew who they were outside of great folks in Tuscaloosa. Now they know who they are. So watch the next hidden gems coming to your screen, to my screen. Fellas, we're going to be on the sidelines, okay? Or we'll have our special seats, if you know what I mean. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I just want everybody to understand, you know, when you get to Tuscaloosa, soon as you hit the nearest gas station, nearest store, and right before you get on campus, you're going to start seeing the number 17 pop up everywhere. You need to know and understand what 17 means. 17. Just understand. Roll, Tide, roll.
Butler, it's your time on the clock. As Brother Jones broke it down adequately about the season preview with Alabama. Do you agree with this young man, and how do Alabama look coming in 2020?
Well, I do agree with Coach Jones. One of the things that Alabama has done, Nick Saban, the way he recruits is off the chain. I mean, the guy's a monster recruiter. That guy, I remember when Alvin Kamara came out of high school from Norcross High, he had the top 4 running backs in the nation signed with him. How can you do that? How can you recruit all 4 like that, and all 4 of them think they're gonna play? Yeah. But he just got a knack of doing that. And then here's the thing: just like you said, Coach Jones, if you're a true freshman and you're ready to play, he's going to put you on the field.
That's right.
Now, that says something now.
Right.
I want y'all to understand what I'm saying. You can't play at Alabama as a freshman or in the SEC as a freshman unless you are a grown man already.
Wow. These
guys coming in with pro bodies already. They just need to catch their mind up to the game.
Right.
Right? And so we reviewed their class, the recruiting class, and just the top 5 that I had, those guys were Sunday players, every one of them. But let's look at it, Coach. I don't have to. You did a good job breaking it down, but I agree with you about Matt Jones. Now, and I don't agree with you because his last name Jones. I agree with you because statistically, the guy did a great job. He threw for over 1,500 yards and had 4 stars. He was 3-1 as a starter. But here's the good news. This guy can manage the game. He can make every throw. And he got monster playmakers on the roster. Now, we just saw the draft. We just saw 2 of their great receivers get drafted in the first round. But these 2 guys they got on the roster now, right. Devontae Smith and Mr. Waddle. Mr. Waddle could be the most exciting thing I've seen since Krispy Kreme donuts with the light on. Mr. Waddle got it like that. I mean, he's an exceptional player. And then you add to that Tyu Jones-Bell from Miami as a true freshman. They're not going to miss a beat in that department. Right. And you said it quite well, Coach. Their offensive line, see, they have more starters than what you say because of the rotation. Right. Who cares who put their hand in the dirt on the first play of the game? Right. As long as I'm getting playing time. And so you're getting that kind of playing time. You have the experience. Hey, listen, trust me. This team is not going to miss a beat. Right. And then, for some crazy reason, Najee came back. Coach, he's 6'2", 230. This dude had 1,224 yards rushing last year, 13 touchdowns. And in receiving, he had another 27 catches, 304 yards, and another 7 TDs. Monster player. Hey, listen, I always tell y'all this. As long as we got offensive linemen and defensive linemen, running backs and receivers are a dime a dozen. But we just so happen to have a great running back with great size in that backfield behind that line. Hey, listen, Matt Jones is going to be very comfortable. He's going to feel very comfortable. That's right. And then you bring in Bryce Young, like you say, a dual threat quarterback who's going to get some playing time. You know, he might get like Matt Jones got last year, just as a backup. Right. But we need to get all of them in the rotation. That's what's going to solidify how deep they go. Right. Now, this team right here, they're playoff bound right now because of the experience they have on their roster. Right. Not because of the returning starters, so to speak, right, but the experience on the roster, right? And so you got the receivers. You got Addis Leatherwood. You talked about that. Evan Neal. All these guys, every one of them, if they were not freshman All-American, they were freshman All-SEC, which is bigger than freshman All-American.
Absolutely.
So offense is in great hands, right? I believe the offense is in great hands. Then we talk about defense. What does Alabama do better than anybody? They play defense. They got grown men on the roster, y'all. You know, and you look at it last year, I was just amazed last season at the secondary they had, the receiver group they had, and then you got a cornerback like Patrick Surtain coming. You know, he's going to be a monster. He's going to be a first rounder before he leave there, right? Jordan Butler, I like Butler because he's in the rotation. He got experience last year. These guys playing. They playing ball. And then you add Shane Lee at linebacker, Chris Allen outside linebacker. Coach, some of these guys get hurt 2 years ago. Yes. And here's the news about Alabama. They don't have to rush these kids back because they got guys. They got guys. So, Coach, I can't wait to go over there to see 17 on the highway when I hit Tuscaloosa. Listen, I'm just telling you right now, I'm excited to see them in action. I want to see them in practice. I want to see them play this year. I know right now my prediction for them, they're going to be in the playoffs. There's no question about it. And I think they're going to be in the hunt. If they don't win it all, you know, there are 2 or 3 teams, familiar teams, going to be in the hunt again. And they're going to be one of them. And so it's not going to be, it's not a surprise already. We can pretty much pick the playoffs right now if we want to. But I got them, my prediction for them, I got them going 12-0. I don't see nobody on the roster that can beat them with that. And we're not even talking about, nobody in the SEC is going to beat them, by the way. And we're not even talking about all these great freshmen that are going to play that's going to be added to the rotation. I think Alabama is going to be back. Nick Saban knows what he's doing. They got the formula, man. And so they're not a one hit and done team. LSU is going to be good, but they're not a playoff team this year. So the body of work that you talked about is there. They're proven. They're proven head coach. You know, they're recruited. The way they recruit is proven. They're back. And so it's going to be exciting to see them play.
Man, I can't say no more. Both of you gentlemen broke it down real nice. Y'all was real to the point. But however, I'm going to start with all the coaches that kept this thing going for Alabama. I got a lot of respect for the program. You can look at the coaches they had before the great one, Wallace Wade, Frank Thomas, and then the Bear Bryant coming in 1958. And when the Bears stepped down, I thought maybe that dynasty would maybe be over. Mm-hmm. But I never thought I'd see Alabama getting back to the level that they are now. And that's kudos to Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. He is, in my opinion, the greatest college coach ever. And what he's done at the University of Alabama and his ability to keep bringing in talent at a high level and producing first-round draft choices. Right. But however, when I look at the Alabama season this year, I'm going to start with the offense. Mac Jones is a returning quarterback. There's no question about it. But the main point I worry about him, and you know what I'm about, big games. Against Auburn, he threw 2 key picks that literally cost Alabama a chance to get into the college playoffs. So now going into this season, they didn't have spring practice, so he didn't really face that competition from that young man out there in L.A. by the name of Bryce Young. So it's going to be interesting to me whether or not Mac Jones is going to come out of gates well for Alabama and how that situation is going to develop at quarterback. Like you say, Coach Jones, they're very deep on the offensive line. They got serious playmakers all over the field, like Bobby just said. To me, for Alabama to be as strong as they were last year, let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. Coach Jones, you said they had a lot of injuries in the D-line. Look what they did last year. They gave up 188 yards rushing against Mississippi State, 178 against Ole Miss. In the game they lost against LSU, 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. Who's going to be that stud in the middle that's going to step up? Can DJ Dale stay healthy? LeBron Ray, can he stay healthy? And can that freshman out of Sebastian, Florida, Tommy Smith, can be that guy that we know Alabama's producing D linemen? And then they secondary. They lost 3 starters back there. Mm-hmm. They got Patrick Surtain. But again, it comes back. We know Alabama's going to win all their games. There's no question about it. I'm talking about big game situations. What happened last year when they faced a young man out of Athens, Ohio, and you was on the sideline, Coach Jones? I think Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson had their way. It's going to be interesting to see what Alabama's going to do in the secondary. To me, if they clear those 2 areas up, I agree with you, gentlemen. They'll be in the college playoffs. So my thing with the University of Alabama, I got a lot of respect, and this is me. Big wheels keep on turning. Get me home to see my kids. It's about the Southland. And today we're going to end it with the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. I'm Vincent Turner. Join me is the very talented, do your hat, Coach Jones. One more time. University of Alabama. And my man, the legend, Mr. Bobby Butler. Thank you and God bless. You've been watching 100 Yards of Football.